As the veil between the living and the dead thins, shadows whisper secrets long forgotten. What if tonight the ancient spirits awaken, hungry for the souls they've watched from the darkness? If this chills you to the bone, hit that subscribe button now and drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever felt the dead watching? Let's dive into the shadows together. In the mist-shrouded hills of ancient Ireland over 2,000 years ago, the Celts gathered under a blood moon. It was the end of the harvest, the cusp of winter's grip. They called it Samhain, the darkest festival of the year, a time when the barriers between worlds dissolved and the dead walked among the living. Not a celebration of joy, but a desperate rite to appease the unseen forces that ruled the night. The Celts, fierce warriors and druids attuned to the earth's hidden rhythms, believed the year died with the fading sun. Samhain marked the rebirth, but it came at a cost. Bonfires roared on hilltops, warding off malevolent spirits. Families offered sacrifices, crops, animals, even their own blood, to the gods of the underworld. The air hung heavy with the scent of smoke and fear. For in those endless autumn nights, the seed, the fairy folk, twisted guardians of the grave, roamed free, snatching the unwary into eternal twilight. But what truly lurked behind these rituals? Were they mere superstitions or echoes of something far older buried in the soil of forgotten lands? As the Druids chanted incantations in the flickering firelight, they donned masks of bone and hide, not for disguise but to blend with the spirits, to fool the restless dead into believing they belonged in the shadows. Villagers paraded through the villages, banging pots and shouting, driving back the ghouls that hungered for the warmth of the living. It was a war against the invisible, a nightly siege where one wrong step could summon a curse that lingered for generations. History tells us the Celts weren't alone in their dread. Across ancient Europe, from the Gauls to the Norse, similar festivals bloomed like dark flowers in the fall. The Romans, ever the conquerors, invaded Celtic lands around 43 AD, bringing their own rites to honor Pomona, goddess of orchards, and the Feralia, a feast for the departed. But when empires clashed, traditions twisted. Samhain absorbed these foreign echoes, growing more potent, more perilous. Imagine the scene. A druid priest cloaked in raven feathers stands atop a sacred mound. He calls to the Morrigan, the phantom queen of war and death, her wings blotting out the stars. "Return to the earth," he intones as the crowd holds its breath. Yet whispers persist. Tales of those who vanished during Samhain, their screams swallowed by the wind. Were they taken by fey tricksters or something darker, a primordial hunger awakened by the thinning veil? As centuries turned, Christianity swept across the isles like a cleansing flame. In the 5th century, missionaries arrived, their crosses gleaming against the pagan gloom. They sought to tame the wild spirits of Samhain, rebranding it as All Hallows Eve, the night before All Saints' Day, a vigil for the holy souls in heaven. Pope Gregory III in the 8th century decreed November 1st as a day to honor all saints, shifting the old festival into the Church's embrace. But the ancient rites didn't die, they hid in plain sight. By the 9th century, the Irish Church formalized All Hallowmas, blending Celtic bonfires with prayers for the dead. Villages lit candles in hollowed turnips, later carrots, then pumpkins, to guide benevolent spirits home. Jack-o'-lanterns they were called, born from the legend of Stingy Jack, a soul damned to wander with a coal-lit route, forever barred from heaven or hell. Fact or fable? The Druids would say it was both, a warning etched in flame. Yet beneath the saints and prayers, the old magic simmered. Medieval accounts speak of Hallows revels where peasants donned disguises once more, begging for soul cakes, treats to offer the dead in exchange for prayers. It was a fragile peace, but cracks appeared. In 837 AD, an Irish chronicle records a great hosting of demons during Samhain, terrorizing the faithful. Coincidence, or proof that the veil could never fully seal? Transitioning from the Emerald Isles to the wider world, the story of Halloween takes root in exile. In the 19th century, waves of Irish immigrants fled famine and oppression, carrying their haunted traditions across the Atlantic. They landed in America, a land of promise shadowed by its own wilderness ghosts. In cities like New York and Boston, Samhain evolved, mingling with Scottish tales of geysers, masked wanderers, and English harvest games. By the 1840s, Halloween parties emerged in the New World, but they carried an undercurrent of unease. Diaries from the era describe spirit nights where mediums summoned the departed, their voices crackling through the ether like distant thunder. Was it the influence of spiritualism rising in the wake of loss from war and plague? Or did the ancient Celtic blood call to the old gods, stirring unrest in the souls of the displaced? As the 20th century dawned, commercialization crept in, softening the edges. But beneath the candy and costumes, darker threads persisted. In rural Appalachia, descendants of Scots-Irish kept vigil with dumb suppers, silent meals set for the dead, chairs pulled out, doors left ajar. Witnesses claimed glimpses of translucent figures at the table, their eyes hollow with unspoken sorrow. Fact? Folklore? The line blurred, much like the veil itself. And then the great migrations of World War II scattered traditions further. Soldiers returned with tales from Europe, ghost stories from bombed-out ruins where the dead of ancient battles seemed to rise anew. Halloween became a national rite, but in the quiet hours, some swore they heard the Celtic chants echoing through the suburbs, a reminder that the rituals never truly faded. But what if the truth is darker than anyone imagined? What if these American celebrations unwittingly summon the very forces the Celts fought to contain? Deep in the heart of this evolution lies the revelation that shatters the candy-coated myth. Not all spirits welcomed by the bonfires were benign. Samhain wasn't just a festival, it was a portal, a deliberate breach in reality. Druidic lore passed in whispers speaks of the Tuatha Dé Danann, the godlike beings who retreated underground after defeat by the Milesians. On Samhain they emerged, demanding tribute not from the living but from the dead themselves. Visualize it. The year 1000 AD, a hidden glen in Scotland. A circle of stones older than Stonehenge pulses with unearthly light. A lone seer, eyes milky with visions, recounts the wild hunt. A spectral cavalcade led by the Horned One, herding damned souls across the sky. Riders on skeletal steeds, their horns curling like thorns, scour the earth for stragglers. To be caught meant joining the eternal chase, your cries lost to the storm. This wasn't myth, it was memory. Archaeological digs in Ireland have unearthed altars stained with offerings, human bones mingled with animal remains, dated to the Iron Age. The Celts practiced ritual sacrifice, historians confirm, to bind the dead to the land, preventing them from rising in wrath. But when Christianity arrived, those bindings weakened. The the saints' prayers couldn't hold back the tide. Fast forward to America, 1920s Chicago. A wave of occult revivals gripped the immigrant neighborhoods. Reports flooded police stations, pranksters in costumes vanishing into alleys only to reappear miles away, disoriented as if time had folded. One account from an Irish-American family describes a child who, during a Halloween game, invited a friend from the other side to play. The boy never spoke the same afterward, murmuring in Gaelic of "the ones below who hunger." The climax builds in the shadows of modernity. In 1950, a peculiar event in Salem, yes, that Salem, drew national attention. During a reenactment of ancient rites, participants claimed the ground trembled and voices from the earth begged release. Skeptics called it mass hysteria, but geologists found anomalies, subterranean chambers untouched since Celtic times, perhaps carried in legend across oceans. The key revelation: Halloween isn't a holiday, it's a key. Each October 31st, as clocks tick toward midnight, the collective belief of millions worldwide, rooted in those ancient Celtic fires, reopens the door. Not just for tricks and treats, but for the dead to claim what's theirs. Modern science dismisses it, yet emergency lines spike with reports of apparitions, possessions, the inexplicable. What if the American tradition, born of migration and reinvention, has amplified the ritual, turning a tribal warding into a global invitation? The energy surges, the air thickens, and in that suspended moment, the veil tears fully. Spirits flood through, not ghosts of grandmothers, but the forgotten, the vengeful, the eternally lost. They walk your streets tonight, drawn by the glow of jack-o'-lanterns, the laughter of the living. Feel the chill? That's no wind. It's their breath on your neck. As the bonfires die to embers and the masks come off, the night retreats, but the echoes linger. Samhain taught the Celts survival through reverence. America turned it into spectacle, yet the core remains. A fragile truce with the abyss. We've tamed the wild with suburbs and sweets, but the rituals pulse beneath, waiting for the next thinning. Philosophers might call it collective memory, a thread connecting us to our primal fears. Mystics see it as evolution's shadow, the dead evolving with us, adapting to our world of screens and cities. In the end, Halloween reminds us we are not the masters of the dark. We merely borrow its light. But as the clock strikes 12 and the world quiets, what if this year they don't go back? In the whispers of the ancient winds, more mysteries await. Stay veiled in the unknown. Subscribe for the next unraveling.